En het meest waanzinnige hier is dat het als puzzelstukjes in elkaar wordt gezet, waardoor je iedere dag nog gefascineerder door het proces ingaat. En uiteindelijk het hele puzzelstuk in elkaar klikt. En het is nogmaals mind-blowing.
And this is where I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. Every single person is a piece in the puzzle. And when you put the pieces together, it provides clarity.
The biggest in the industry. But I had a lot of other opportunities to do this because I believe in network marketing. I'm a big fan of network marketing. And I had a lot of other opportunities with other people that are pretty successful. I didn't see anything or anyone that was close to these three guys.
Be able to manage finance. Most people, they have some of those skills, and that's why every year 50% of businesses that start are out of business. You know, you look at over any 5-year period of time, 80% are out of business, and over a 10-year period of time, only.
But the business for the people of the 21st century are people who must win, and that's where I am at.
What's the story of your life? Is it a comedy? A romance?
Hi, ik ben Mordechai Krispijn uit Den Haag, Nederland. We hebben net hier Date with Destiny afgerond en mind-blowing. Okay? Ik zal het kort houden, maar het feit dat we dit niet op school leren is gewoon te belachelijk voor woorden. Dit is eigenlijk wat je graag op school mee zou willen krijgen als je jong bent en wat je ook aan alle kinderen mee zou willen geven. Ik heb werkelijk nog nooit zo betekenisvolle toekomst gehad. Een compelling future zoals we het in Amerika noemen. Een toekomst met echte betekenis. En het meest waanzinnige hier is dat het als puzzelstukjes in elkaar wordt gezet, waardoor je iedere dag nog gefascineerder door het proces ingaat. En uiteindelijk het hele puzzelstuk in elkaar klikt. En het is nogmaals mind-blowing. Experience it yourself, zou ik zeggen. Bij iedere stap naar voren is er één. Go for it.
He said he didn't. Here's what I've learned. He said, the office is bigger than the occupant. We are, as a nation, there are 3 branches of government. They will balance themselves out. There'll be upsets, there'll be ups and downs. But overall, America's just doing just fine. We're going to continue to do
that reveals that he has a concern.
And never hear anybody else's opinion.
That's absolutely true.
And never question your own
I want to plant one
beliefs.
seed if I could, because the real reason I wrote this book is I donated 100% of it to Feeding America. We fed 200 million people. 100 million last year, 100 million the year before. I'm going to feed 100 million this year. The book does it, and then I write a check for the balance with state funds. So if anybody's watching, get this book. It'll change your life, but it'll also feed 50 people.
You must be very good at investing. Do you think you're good at investing? Yeah.
Yes.
You know him well.
Yes.
You've known him for how long?
About 15, 18 years, maybe.
You got him his first speaking gig, right?
I did.
That's what it said.
He thought it was 200 or 300 people, and it was 10,000, so he was a bit taken back, but now he's addicted. I'm still the President of the United States. What the hell to do? I've coached multiple presidents of the United States, but it's when they ask. If he asks. What's the story of your life? Is it a comedy? A romance? Adventure? A horror flick? An epic? Porno? Or is it just a tragedy? Is that the story you want us to be?
Has the current president called you for advice yet?
No, I bet you're surprised to hear that he hasn't. He's always asking people for advice, isn't he? I know the current president pretty well. I gave him his first big speech. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon your point of view, I guess. He came to do a speech. I hired him, and I had a multi-speaker event I was doing, and somewhere in his head he figured there was 200 or 300 people there, and we had 15,000. And he freaked out. He really freaked out. In those days, he wouldn't even shake anybody's hand. He was so worried about, getting some kind of bacteria on him. And but he got hooked, and he did the entire speech on, get a prenup. That was his entire speech.
Really?
That was the key to success, was get a prenup.
Martin Geddes, it's the same man. And this is where I've said this many times, and I'll say it again. Every single person is a piece in the puzzle. And when you put the pieces together, it provides clarity.
And So we're very happy, and we're an Anglo-Dutch boutique media and analysis company that helps people around the world. And Martin is great. He's very sharp, as I said.
Is this the same Martin Geddes who was also with Robert? It's the same Martin Geddes.
It's the same Martin Geddes. It's the same man.
And national.
Exactly. So he's played. And you founded Bossmaker with Martin Geddes.
Exactly, and I'm thrilled with that too, because Martin is of course a legend. Yeah. And we met because he worked at British Telecom, and Martin, of course, is a computer scientist with an Oxford master's degree, and he's very wise and sharp, and well, he's considered one of the world's top open source analysts. And so when we met, I said, we could work together, and we created Bossmaker together.
Turn of Martin Geddes' thinker to our show, and something I've been following for about 3 or 4 years now. I predicted early on. I told people, everyone I could find on Facebook and wherever, that the movement was different than most conspiracy movements. And it was also different than any other kind of cult, if you want to call it a cult, whatever you want to call it, I don't care, but it was different. One thing that happened over these last 4 years is I developed a kind of, virtual friendship with one of the thought leaders, Martin Geddes, and Marshall McLuhan.
Yep.
He's the one who wrote the medium is the message, right? World War III will be a guerrilla information war, yep, with no differentiation between military and civilian.
Trump jumped out and arrests all of these criminals at some point with, I don't know what, we'll get to that in a minute too. What branch of intelligence is he working with, or what military or whatever? But when is this sting? Because I mean, the inauguration was a month and a half ago, and we're into March now, and it's going into summer. I mean, when is the raid on the house here?
So I think the raid's already happened.
Vandaag spreek ik met niemand minder dan Martin Geddes. U hoort het nu in The Bossmaker. In a year, your Twitter following gone from 7,000 nearing 70,000. Yes. And professionally, you're almost entirely focused on the movement for truth and justice. You are seen as one of the top movement analysts, and you wrote articles about the Great Awakening. What made you so aware of the situation?
Okay, so my expertise, professional expertise, is in pulling apart and deconstructing complex belief systems that people have. And that could be in the world of internet architecture or telecoms policy, and understanding why do they believe certain things, and finding the defects and the flaws. And then in the autumn of 2 years ago, in 2017, these started appearing. And it provided what you might call an information landscape. And for someone like me, that's an irresistible playground.
In America?
So these pieces of information that were arriving, how do I make sense of them? Where do they fit? Because they started to help to crystallize out some of the uncertainties I had before and give a bigger picture as to what was really going on.
Everybody can follow those tweets.
So there are different ways of expressing what's going on which are receivable by different audiences. We're here today in the context of a business audience, a commercial audience. So we understand things like organized crime. What we're talking about here is a next level up of that. You might call it institutionalized crime. It's crime that has maybe been committed over multiple generations. It's involved the infiltration and hijacking of different institutions. It also involves what you might call, it's called pathocracy. Total collapse of trust in the mass media. Now, some of the institutions may collapse as well, some may not. But as these scandals are revealed, it will become very clear that the mass media had become controlled, compromised, infiltrated, and complicit in hijacking. We knew it before, but now we've got hard proof.
But you also see it on, for instance, the boss of CNN that is under attack.
Right. So in the present moment, we have seen unprecedented levels of resignations by CEOs.
Yeah.
Funny that. So we said earlier that we're in a war. It's an unusual war, it's a silent war, it's an occult war. It's a real war with real people dying and real activity.
But a very different war.
It's a very different
we think
war.
of soldiers attacking each other, but...
So it is a war. It's a struggle for survival and power.
Dus we hebben eigenlijk geroepen, we hebben een onverwachte wending gemaakt, ook wel tot verrassing van de politie hier zo. Dus we hebben gewoon gezegd, we blijven gewoon hier. We blijven hier om te laten zien dat hier, bij dit rechtbankgebouw, is vandaag onrecht gesproken. En we gaan dus niet naar Waku Waku op dit moment. En ja, mijn hart zou niets liever willen om te zeggen, we gaan daarheen. Maar mijn verstand overroelt het ook om te zeggen, dan speel je eens in de kaart. Want dan word je allemaal in bussen geladen en afgevoerd. Dit is niet in overleg met de politie, dus die weten nu ook niet zo goed wat ze moeten, maar ze gaan het overleggen. Maar wij blijven...